feeling about themselves and who they are. And that goes back for a long time. I mean, this is an experience that starts in childhood, goes through adolescence and so on, but that stays covered up.
Derek is in recovery now, as is his marriage.
I haven't accessed pornography for 2 months, which is the longest time in the past 12 years that I've ever gone without looking at that kind of material. Looking back now, I realize how much it inhibited my ability to form relationships with people. It certainly hampered my relationship with my wife. I spent so much time looking at this stuff on the internet that I wasn't interested in interacting with real people.
Next, pornography finds a new... There are very few people around the world researching the effect of internet porn on children. Sonia Thompson's spell at the Film Classification Board prompted her to spend 2 years crisscrossing rural Alberta for her master's thesis on how much kids consume porn. Her results were stunning.
By the time that kids in Alberta are 13 and 14 years old, 75% of them have seen pornography online. And fully 1/3 of all the boys in grade 8 who participated in the study had seen internet porn too many times to count.
With more and more kids viewing porn on the internet, you'd think universities and governments would be anxious to know the impact pornography is having on their emerging sexuality. But when it came to furthering her own research, Sonia felt like a whistleblower among the deaf.
I had been hopeful that I would get some private funding to continue this research, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I got turned down by every single teachers' conference that I applied to speak at. I approached every single school superintendent in the province, and I got some interesting replies. One to give me permission because he was worried that if kids were filling out a questionnaire where they reported on their use of pornography, or where they were asked to report on that it would encourage kids to get online and look for porn.
Still, experts agree that children as young as 10 years old are routinely accessing pornography on their mobile phones all around the world. In Europe, mobile phone porn is a $540 million a year business. In North America, it's much smaller, generating only $26 million. That's because U.S. and Canadian regulators prohibit phone companies from carrying porn over their cellular systems. But as everyone, especially the young, move entirely over to wireless internet access on their phones, porn is now available to them anywhere, anyplace, anytime.
Kids are being exposed to explicit sexual imagery at a much younger and younger age. And the question then becomes, does that make a difference in terms of the healthy psychological or psychosexual development of those kids?
It may seem like a cynical PR ploy, but the porn industry has formed an association of sites advocating child protection and developed its own web nanny software who helped set up the site. He says, of course, there's
very concerned that so many children get their first education about sexuality through adult materials that they find online or shared with them by other children. I think this is a problem that needs to be appropriately dealt with. I think that the appropriate way to deal with it is through technological means.
Recently, in the police investigated a group of teenage babysitters on their 8-year-old charges. The police and the community say they solved the problem quietly through the juvenile criminal justice system. But it was reported that the babysitters had gotten their idea from hardcore porn on their parents' unblocked satellite TV. And then there are teenage girls who feel pressured to have porn star sex with their boyfriends. Inspired, presumably, by the pornographic tendencies of their role models.
If we don't get the feeling back into relationships, we're going to lose a generation of relationships. There are going to be more broken relationships, there's going to be more violence in relationships, there's going to be more, loneliness will escalate.
British psychotherapist Frances Emilius has studied the impact of porn.
Men keep on going back to it. One of the reasons they keep on going back to it is that it isn't working. That's the odd thing. It doesn't actually satisfy. You keep on having to do exactly the same thing over and over and over again because it's not touching the heart.
I think that the web itself leads to a lot of addiction and leads to a lot of depression. And the depression and the addiction comes because people aren't getting satisfied with real interactions. Their brain just doesn't get the proper biological feedback that it needs to say, I have made a connection, I did do something, I've met people and I have friends.
When we return, porn futurist Brian Schuster sees a day when cybersex will be therapeutic, not addictive.
Just visit remotely anyone, anywhere, in any sort of environment that you can imagine.
It seems impossible, but for visionaries like Schuster, it is the future of age. The addictive power of porn is everywhere, if you choose to look for it.
So the genie's out of the bottle. I don't think they can put it back. I think they're just going to have to live with it.
Wonder if
Jung's expanding universe suggests that we're getting sort of lighter and more enlightened at the same time, exactly the same time as we're getting darker and more debased and principle.
Thanks for watching. DocZone returns next week with our acclaimed documentary, Air India 182. It was the worst mass murder in Canadian history. June 23rd, 1985, a bomb killed all 329 aboard an Air India flight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
A chilling, step-by-step account of the 48 hours leading up to the destruction of Air India 182. Presented without commercial interruption. DocZone, next time. Remember, you can learn more about tonight's program at cbc.ca/docs. Thanks for watching.
Thrilling, exotic, full of surprises. Internationally celebrated Cirque du Soleil's Kuza, Sunday at 7 on CBC Television. CBC News